So I was having a conversation with somebody the other day in person about their struggles with the reality of what their ex is and how difficult it is for them to let go. I know I hear this a lot from different members on the channel, but this was a little bit different because I was actually talking one-on-one with a person in person. And one of the things that it's not that it's lost on me, but it's one of those things that I do forget sometimes, and in the communications between people on the channel via email and even through comments, just the anguish that somebody is feeling as a result of this. And it brought back a bunch of memories of my experience whenever I was early into this and I was struggling with it and I was looking at the situation, trying to decipher what in the world happened. This person I was talking to knows that this person is toxic, knows that it's fake, but they still are at the stage that they don't want to believe it. I get it. I was at that stage myself. I remember ruminating about this over and over again, trying to rationalize in my head why this wasn't true, just playing the scenario and different aspects of it, just every angle I could think of. And I just couldn't get it out of my head. And even whenever I was ultimately told about what this person, my ex, was probably, I still had a really hard time with it. And as I was talking to this person and I was seeing them struggle, and I was trying to remind them that the person is toxic, it's fake, you were used, your feelings in it were real, they just couldn't, they couldn't break themselves out of that do loop. Now, I know every one of us has our own timeline for getting through this. I had a long timeline myself, and it took me personally going through that same type of anguish, that same recursive thoughts over and over again until I finally just got tired of it. For me, that took like 3 years for me to get to that point. Now, I will say that prior to that point, I wanted to get to that point. I was done. I didn't want to feel this way anymore. But I just couldn't break that cycle. I just couldn't get there. And it's one of those things where even when you start to understand what this is and what you're going through, there's still going to be that transition phase where you're basically fighting it. I know you've heard, and I have said before, that this is like an addiction. This is like being addicted to alcohol or a drug, and you don't want to let it go. You want this relationship to be something different. You don't want this reality that you're starting to see to be true. And it's really tough when you get into this mode. It's tough because you're fighting with yourself. You're having this internal dialogue to where you know what you're dealing with. You know it. You logically know it. Like I logically knew it. I knew what I was dealing with. I knew that it was toxic. I knew that it wasn't healthy. I knew that it was fake. I knew all of those different things, but I didn't want to believe it. And watching this person just go through this death throes of this relationship and comparing their experience to what the ex is now doing with the new person is tearing them apart. In this situation, it's not that they're doing the exact same thing. It's this person's announcing on social media that they're with this new person and how great it is and pet names and all that stuff. And it just feels like a dagger in your heart. And as you get past this, let me back up. When you don't have a direct connection with it, it is so much easier to see it. This is why your friends can see it. This is why your family potentially can see it, and why you can still be stuck in this mode. Again, I did the exact same things. I did. I would look at the situation and see what was going on social media and see that it was like not a care in the world. It was like I didn't even exist. It was like, hit the reset or erase button. And, it's funny because in a lot of ways that's better than hoovering. But at the same time, when you've been erased, it hurts like hell. You want that person to acknowledge that you even meant something. And for someone to be able to just to one day turn it off and it's like, no, you're a piece of crap. I don't even know you. Do I know you? You know, it's like where you almost want to say, yeah, we were married for 2 decades. In this situation I was talking about, this other person, it was a shorter term relationship, but it doesn't matter. The pain is still there. Now, I often talk about when I got stuck in this mode, I went through varying phases. I was going through therapy. In the course of all this, I started doing the absolute thinking technique that I'll post a video up in the cards. Where is it? Over here. And I would tell myself every day, it wasn't real. This person has a personality disorder, even though it wasn't diagnosed. And it's all fake. Everything that was nice was a manipulation. Everything that was mind games was part of this manipulation. There was nothing real about it. Even with that, it still took me a lot of time to slowly have that programming change to where I started to believe it, where I'm like, okay, you know, when I would start to think about the past, I would be like, nope, stop going down that road. This isn't real. This is BS. This is just part of the manipulation. But you have to come to that realization yourself. Now, I often mention that I also use the hypnosis files to kind of drill that point home. And I would highly encourage anybody who is struggling with this to seriously consider that. I'll leave a link in the description for this. You can find it on my website, the dadssurvivingdivorce.com website. Under the resources tab, I list them right there. And I got to the point that I was doing the absolute thinking. So anytime I would think about the ex, I would start saying that in my head, in my inner voice. I would listen to those hypnosis download files constantly. And then after about a month, it started to click. Now, when I was talking to this person, I recommended, or I mentioned this again. I'm like, have you started using those hypnosis files? And they're like, no, yeah, kind of. But the thing is you have to do the work on it. And you have to be honest with yourself too. If you get in a situation to where you want that connection, I mean, here's the thing. You can get to the point where that pain is the only thing you have left connected to the person, and you don't want to let that go because you don't want to let the connection go. I know that sounds sick, but I think a lot of us have gone through that. And I say that because it's important to talk about things that we don't want to talk about, that we don't want to confront, that we absolutely don't want to tell other people. That is the same situation I went through. I was struggling really, really hard with this. I didn't want to let it go, but I didn't want it to stay. I know what I wanted. I wanted the ex to call me up or do something and say, you know what, I'm sorry. This has gotten out of control. This was stupid. I was angry. I didn't want it to be like this. Let's hit the reset. Let's try to fix it. 99% of the time, a narcissistic, toxic ex will not do that. They may come back and do shaming tactics and things to try to make you feel guilty, to make you want to apologize, or to make you be the one to relent. But effectively, they won't blink. So the purpose of this video and the purpose of this message is, if you are struggling with this, if this message is resonating with you, even if you do it privately by yourself, acknowledge the truth. Acknowledge where you are, and then seriously take a step back and look at your situation and try to determine where you really want to go. What do you really want? You know, do you want that pain? Do you really want that pain to go away? And unfortunately, if you want that pain to go away, it may feel like having a connection with them, or having, keeping the door open. So I can remember doing this, keeping the door open so that maybe whenever they finally decide to hoover back around, that you'll be ready to, have them come back in your life. And that's, again, what I'm talking about with being honest with yourself, being honest with that. I mean, you may not want to say it. You're probably not going to say it to your friends. You're probably not going to say it to your family that you really miss this person, because you've already told them how much they've hurt you. You've already told them what a monster they are. So you can't really go back to them and say, well, I know I'm sleeping with the devil, or was sleeping with the devil, but I want it back so bad. I'm ready to, sell my soul and do it again. You're not going to say that. Who the hell's going to say that? Nobody's going to say that. You're going to keep it to yourself, and you're going to go, yeah, I hate this person. Yeah, I don't want to be around them. Yeah, they're bad for me. but you're struggling internally because you want it back so freaking bad. I get it. I was there. I went through the same thing. That's why that unrequited love on the hypnosis download was so freaking powerful for me, because that's exactly what the situation was. The thing is you have to put in some work to it too. You have to make a decision that you've had enough and you want to start grabbing your life back, and you're willing to take some steps to do that. It's not easy to do. Like I said before, when you start to release the person, then you're completely letting it go. There was a period of time where I was keeping the door open so that if she said something that I could respond. And I didn't want to put down good boundaries, because if I did, it would shut the door. Now I'm at the point where I don't care. I don't want her anywhere around me. I don't want to be anywhere near her. I don't want anything to do with her. In a video I made that I don't think I posted yet, I'm still working on it, I literally ran into her with my youngest daughter on Mother's Day at the hardware store here in town. And I did, in the past I would have been, okay, well, that's an opportunity to talk and to drive conversation. I don't want conversation with her anymore. I don't want to have small talk. I don't want to talk with her. I don't want to hear about her day. I don't care. It's irrelevant. I know that person is toxic, basically a vampire, will consume anything and everything that they possibly can, and I want nothing to do with it. It took me a long time to get to that point. If you're struggling with that, I hope that you can look at that and hear that message and realize that this person is toxic for you. They do not deserve a space in your life. But you have to make that decision. You have to decide that you've had enough. You have to decide that it's okay to let it go. I realize some of the people on the channel, this isn't even a problem. You're looking at this going, what? No, that wasn't me. There's a lot of people that this is a problem, and you may be one of them. And if you're struggling with this and you're going back in this circular do loop, that's normal. It's not a lot of fun, but it changes by you making a decision to change. It changes by you deciding to do something different. It changes by every time you think about the ex, you turning on that internal dialogue saying, no, like if it was for me, no, Duane, that's not true. What you're thinking about is not true. It was a manipulation. The person you're thinking about has a personality disorder, again, undiagnosed. I'm saying this in my head. It's toxic. You have to drill that into your head. If you don't, your brain and your mind will find every little excuse for you to try to basically get that drug back. I've never done drugs. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. None of that. Not in my lexicon of life. And in the career I work in, that is not allowed. So I do not even have a lot of people around me who even drink. I'm not equating that from an addictive personality, from an actual addiction, but that, to me, that's exactly what this feels like. And you can't get them out of your head. But you can whenever you start taking active steps to protect yourself, to remind yourself what reality is. I just wanted to make this video because talking to this person the other day, it was painful to watch, and I just wanted to grab them and pull them to the finish line. But the reality is we have to get ourselves across the finish line. We can use other tools to help. There will be people cheering us on, but nobody can do this for you. Nobody could do that for me. I had to find the directions and then follow them to get to where I want to go. And that's what you have to do too.